Hey guys, it's Tuesday afternoon and we have another amazing Speedway Chat show for you. We have Wilbur Hancock and here's my co-host, Charlesy. How are you, Charlesy? Why can't we hear you? Oh, can we hear you? What's happened? Oh dear, we've just had an absolute nightmare. Literally minutes before the show, Shane's internet has gone completely down, and he's gone completely. So Charlesy's internet went completely down. He's now on his phone using the data, and then the headphones wasn't working. So he's had a bit of a mare. But this is what happens. So can people please comment below where you're watching from? This will build some engagement, and we're going to bring Charlesy back right now. Here he is. Can we hear you?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear him. Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Sorry.
How's your day been, Shane?
Listen, it's not been well. I've come home to no Wi-Fi, which with a couple of kids and home broadband being an essential new generation thing to have. And my wife's not well, bless her. She's been a bit under the weather the last couple of days. So, yes, it's not real good. So a bit hectic. Apologise. It looks a bit different tonight, but family first, eh?
Family first indeed. So we've just got a quick message from Joe Parsons, watching from Poland. It is
Joe who?
Adam.
Who?
Joe Parsons. Have you ever heard him? No? Monster Joe?
Up and coming media promoter, brand manager. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be him, that guy. It is Adam's birthday today, so his 3-year-old son is obviously his 3rd birthday today. So we want to wish Adam a happy birthday. After the show as well, Joe is doing a interview with Blue Sea, which is a marketing company in Costa Mesa in California, and Joe's going to be on there at 8:30. So after the show, head over to Blue Sea. I will put the link below, and you can listen to Joe talking about, his involvement with Monster and marketing stuff. So it should be a really interesting chat.
I seen that on the Facebook today, Jerry.
On the Facebook? Is that on the internet?
Well, on the Facebook thing you told me to join up to. I haven't got many friends.
Okay.
Yeah, look, firstly, thanks everyone for contributing to Magic Inoski's video last week. A massive hit, like 9,500 views. What a guy, though. Really enjoyed last week. He's English, and the girls went a bit crazy looking back through the comments about, how nice he is and things like that. So thanks very much. We're building traction. I can't wait till we start consistently getting 10K views, which can't be far off with the Magic one. This Friday, it's good to mention as well that we got Lightning Lee Adams from Mildura in Victoria on. It will be a morning show, and it will be the last of our Friday shows, Jerry.
Yep, correct.
Reason being is Poland is racing Fridays and Sundays. So what Jerry and I have decided is that in terms of getting guests on a Friday night might cause a little bit disruption with the Polish league and people watching, and we don't want to clash. So we'll continue to have a chat show like this midweek. And on a Sunday, what Jerry and I plan to do from this Sunday is bring you a match of the day style show with highlights from the Polish racing, along with some of the riders coming on and explaining about their meeting, how they went, how the team went. So, look, we're going to try it, trying to give you guys some speedway and highlights from the Extra Liga. So on the Sunday night, we'll bring you highlights from matches on the Friday and the Sunday, which is the plan. Look, there might be teething problems, but given what we're trying to do, I think all of you will appreciate watching some sort of speedway and getting the riders on and in the typical Jerry and Charlesy way. So we're looking forward to doing that. We've got some testing of that sort of stuff happening on Saturday. So we should be bringing you that sort of stuff, Jez, yeah?
Yep. And then we will be then changing our Tuesday show to a Wednesday night, just so the shows aren't really close together. We will have then a Tuesday and a Sunday and a Wednesday show.
Wednesday.
And the Wednesday show will be the same style as what we're doing now, where we're going to bring on riders and talk to them sort of the way that we're doing now, and sort of seeing how the season goes. So you can still get that behind the scenes of the riders and what they're up to and things like that.
Perfect. And just everyone that's watching now and will watch the replay of this, Kylie Adams, Lee Adams's wife, who we've been in contact to get Lee on the show, they are literally super excited to re-engage with the UK fans, and Lee's super excited to feel still a part of the Speedway family. So once Jerry posts that we've got Lee coming on Friday, really get behind it, please, if you can. Try to get people. Lee gave massive amounts to British and World Speedway. Get your questions in. He's really keen to engage. Super excited. We're going to try and get some special guests to surprise him as well. So we're working on that. But it's going to be a Friday morning show. If you can't make it and you're at work, then understand. But obviously watch it back if you can. So it's going to be around 9:30. We'll confirm that in the morning for you as well.
Yeah. Perfect. So
what have you got on tonight then, Jerry? And what's tonight?
So we've actually got two people on the. We've got two people on the. Wow! Look at that. We've got our friend from Australia again.
She's back. Hello.
She's back. Yeah. So we've got two people coming from Costa Mesa, California. We have got Wilbur and we've got his mate Jake. And Jake we'll ask Jake what it is he's up to and what the connection is with Wilbur. We've just had a brief chat just before we went live. He seems like an interesting guy, so we'll get him chatting as well. So, Charlesy, do you want to give them the introduction that they deserve?
Oh, these two little whippersnapper Yankees giving me stress about my social media lack of presence. But look, we all know his dad. The reason why we got this young kid on is to give us a glimpse of life growing up under such a legend of World Speedway that Greg Hancock is and will for always ever be. Wilbur, we've seen interview riders. We've seen him grow up sort of like the Truman Show. So tonight's show is to sort of ask him about his experiences, his expectations about being a Speedway rider, which he's extremely good at, and the pros and cons of living in the shadow of a Speedway icon. So live from the United States of America, please welcome Wilbur Hancock and his friend Jake.
Hey guys,
how are you?
Hello?
You all good?
Yeah, we're going good.
Hello.
Yes. Finally on. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Look, and we can hear you this time perfectly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Thanks, youngsters, for coming on. I guess the idea behind this, especially to you first, Wilbur, is a lot of people have seen you grow up around the SGPs. You know, looking at your father, he social media, you and your brothers. You know, growing up as kids, living in Sweden. So I guess the curiosity for us is what was that like being Wilbur Hancock, and then we'll move on to what you're trying to achieve as an independent, so to speak. So, firstly, how's COVID-19 been treating the teenage gang, and what sort of effects has it had on you doing what teenagers do these days?
From the beginning, it was like I think it was like March 14th, whatever it was, when we got out of school. There, it was like, all right, no school for 4 weeks to try to get the COVID stuff over. And we're like, oh crap, that's 4 weeks. That's a whole month. And after that, we were, a few days went by, and then we see it pop up on the news, like all schools closed for the rest of the year. And like we're on lockdown officially now. We're like, wow, it's different for me. Not being able to see my friends as much and family and stuff like that. It's been kind of just stuck at home, no riding Speedway. We had a point where we weren't allowed to go, surf and mountain bike and stuff like that. And that's what we used to live on almost every day. So I mean, it was really weird for us. So, but it's finally starting to clear up now and getting a lot better. So we're happy about that.
You talk about surfing and mountain biking like you grew up in the States, but a lot of your time growing up was in Sweden. How is life back in the States after the switch full time?
To be honest, I feel like more of a regular kid here, just because of the popularity of Speedway in Europe and stuff like that. It's just like you were on your toes the whole time, and you were watching your dad race, and you see people walk up to your dad and walk up to me, myself, and ask for pictures and autographs and stuff like that. It's a whole different scenario there. And there, I'm more Greg Hancock's kid than Wilbur Hancock, I feel like, in my opinion. It's kind of a cool feeling, but it's weird. But here, I feel like I'm more of a kid, and my dad isn't that big of a.
Well, he's definitely not that big. He's only like this tall.
Yeah, he's 5 foot something, isn't he?
and in the Speedway world, because Speedway isn't big at all here. It's a growing sport, or growing back to what it used to be. It used to be such an amazing sport over here, and it's slowly died down, sadly. But we're trying to make it big again and have World Championship rounds over here and show them that there's talent over here.
Yeah,
sure.
look, that's Tom. Yes.
I was about to say, just before we go any further, Jake, if you'd like to say who you are, what you're about. We heard just before that you rode Speedway. Just so you're not sat in the background and no one knows.
That's how Jerry
what you're
feels
about.
those shows. Don't worry.
Yeah. So I've been racing Speedway here in the States and won some state championships and did pretty good at the national championships. And when Wilbur came back to the States, we started hanging out more and
getting to know each other.
Really getting to know each other a lot better, because before he was always gone, and we didn't have time to actually build a relationship. And then once he was finally here, we started talking to each other, hanging out at the races and such. And then I told him my plans. I'm planning to be a supercross mechanic. That's what I'm going to be going to school for. And then everything just kind of fell into place after that. I knew I wasn't going to be racing this next season, which kind of worked out with the whole virus and everything. And then then they came and offered me a job as being his full-time or head mechanic. And I absolutely took it right away. And it really it helps me get down the path that I want to go. And it's cool that we get along so well. I think we make a really good team.
Yeah, and it's a lot better to have a good friendship with your mechanic, and you know each other so well. It's like, all right, he's not happy with the bike in that situation, and he can make that change without even me, asking about it. And it's just it's a cool relationship and a cool bond.
Yeah, absolutely. And then kind of bouncing off what he said, I think with my background and actually racing the bike and being at pretty much the same level, it really helps when I'm seeing things that he's not when I'm off the track. So it's like this perfect balance between what I'm seeing, what he's feeling, and then we can just both collaborate and really make the right changes.
I tell you what, you guys remind me of me and Craig Watson. You guys, you might know Craig. Your dad certainly does, Wilbur. Craig and I went to school, similar age as you guys, growing up, loving Speedway and build a friendship. And of course, that makes for a wonderful longevity as well. My advice to you guys is there's going to be massive ups, but there's going to be downs as well. We've
already experienced massive downs. You go to the races and you're so ready to go, and then you just go out and you score like 3 points or something. You're like, are you kidding me?
I've seen him throw goggles once or twice.
They're difficult moments. Yeah, go on, Jess.
I actually have just got a message from Luke Becker saying, ask him if he still sees red.
Oh, you know that, Mo. Quick little backstory behind that. Luke was over there with us season 2018. And I think he really got an eye-opener when he saw the junior level there. I mean, it's such a crazy competition. You feel like going to a junior race there is going to like a professional race here, sadly.
Right.
And he showed up, and for me, it was a lot difficult because they were racing on the 80cc two strokes, like pretty fast bikes. And I was still on the 4-stroke bikes, and the competition was just a lot harder. And I went out and scored maybe 5 points in my last race. I was like, oh, I got this heat. And it's this redheaded kid, like literally it's not like a ginger, right? It's just red. Like he dyed his hair red, and I go out and I lose to him. And Luke has forever since that day just given me shit for losing to a redhead.
A lot of people lost to Jason Crump, so I wouldn't worry about that.
But Jason Crump is Jason Crump. I lost to a redhead. Just red.
Yeah, well,
it was like looking at a Honda bike, not gonna lie.
Good stuff.
Brilliant. So, do you have plans to come and race in Europe? Like,
sure.
Is that and when, like, I presume your dad's a big influence on that, and when you're ready to come to England or to Sweden, like, will you be racing in Sweden, or will you come to England like I like Luke and stuff?
Well, the goal for me is to go there next year for my first year in 500s. For all the team managers watching, open contracts, anything, just throwing that out there. So yeah, next year will be my first year on a 500 racing professionally. And that my goal is to be there from, the beginning of the season to the end of the season and go fill in spots for teams, try to do, as many races as possible, just in whatever leagues I can get in. I mean, it could be a Slovakian league. I don't care. I'll try to be there, and I want to just promote myself in the best way possible and go out there and just win heats and, not just follow my dad's footsteps, but try to, beat that and get even better.
Yeah, for sure. And will you be based in Sweden?
Well, since we have a full race shop there and full bikes and everything, that would be the ultimate or the best scenario was to, get a team in Sweden and maybe build a couple bikes in England and have a ride over there as well.
Okay.
I guess
I know the people at Plymouth Gladiators, so we can always have a word there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, especially if they go up a league.
Right, it's a tough place to start. Look, growing up, Wilbur, do you think you can hear me? Yeah, because I can't hear myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Yeah, sorry. Growing up, do you find, looking back now, have you learned anything from watching world-class speedway and being in that position to watch it, up close more than a lot of people? Do you feel that you've learned anything by watching? I know on the bike's different, but a lot of people say they can learn by watching. Do you feel you're in a pretty good position given, who you are and what you've been able to see as a kid? Yeah,
for sure. For me, it was going to every single league race in Sweden and stuff. If I wasn't racing, of course, I would be there, and I think my dad put me in the pits on purpose, and we had a great relationship with our mechanic Oscar. And he would, always, he's like, hey, grab me, get the gas, fill the bike up, first time I got to switch a sprocket in a matter of seconds, you learn that stuff really fast, and you also see the riders how they're watching everyone else, and then I would go up to them, hey, what are you looking for, and stuff like that, and they'll tell me. And I think my dad definitely played the right cards there to put me in the pits with everyone else and letting me just watch and walk around. And for some people, it's like, oh, he gets to be in the pits and stuff. But for me, it was a lot more than that. It was like you learn, you help other riders that needed the help, and not even that, going to Denmark as well, pitting for Keenan Rue for one of the races there. It's a lot. It's really cool, and I got to sit in the race or the pits, one of the GPs too, and that was pretty cool. And you can watch all the riders and stuff like that, and I just feel like I learned so much from just watching and learning.
Yeah, there's a flip side, isn't there, to being in the SGP pits? The good side is you know what you're getting out of it. People from the outside looking in just see you hanging around, but you'll have your own motives. The downside is you can't see a great lot. On the racing. Yeah, you can't.
You really watch the races from the pits. That's the weird part.
Yeah.
They have dedicated rider spots, but there's only 20 riders and mechanics up there, and you can't.
Yeah.
I'm a short little midget compared to everyone else there. You're just kind of like, hello.
Yeah, and those spots are gold as well. I remember being in Gorican in Croatia with Chris, and then they used to have like this little metal stand for about maybe 15 people that are in the pits, and it's the worst view ever. You get sprayed from the first corner as bikes are turning in. You have to look away for and people think that it's a good spot to be. I'd rather you do appreciate the grandstand a little bit more as well.
Yeah. Sure. When I was up there, the best spot I've ever watched a race from the pits is at Cardiff. They have a full dedicated section there for all the riders.
Yeah.
And it's like some family members too, I think. But that's where I was like, you could walk down. I wasn't at the time allowed since I was too young, but there was like a section blocked off where people who was in the stands there could watch just from the pits. I'd walk down and, check it out at the bottom there, see what the guys are doing. And you see some of the hotheads, riding into the pits, throwing their goggles, yelling at their mechanics, and you're just like, don't want to be like him. And then you run back up. And I can't say I liked sitting there because it's mid-turn, just slap in the face with the dirt. But other than that, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I got a really good view of that area from the corporate box I'm normally in. It looks a good place to be.
Yeah,
we got in the pits that year, Charlie, didn't we?
Using the pits. I tell you what, the year Jerry's talking about, we were in the Monster Energy box. Lucky enough, I think I blagged my way in. But it was with a guy called John McGuinness, who was an Isle of Man TT legend. And a gentleman who sadly is not with us anymore, called Keith Flint from the Prodigy. And growing up as a kid, I was a bit reckless, and the Prodigy, Firestarter and Breathe were two big songs, and that was a memorable day because the Monster family's massive. Obviously, they were endorsed and still are by Monster, especially John McGuinness, and it was a good day that Jerry. We've got a photo of my son with the Monster girls. Speaking of which, what's your favorite Monster girl?
You know what? I don't know which ones that is this year. I mean, this chick's pretty hot.
The what?
Who's?
Chris. Isn't she an ex-Monster girl?
Yeah, Dom.
Yeah.
We won't tell Chris you said that. Yeah.
I'm just like, it was pretty cool because one year we were up there and lucky enough, Joe let us in somehow. He let us into the Monster box, and he's like, help yourself. You have unlimited snacks, and you have, legends over there, and you have John McGuinness sitting next to you on your right. You're just like, it's pretty cool, and you have a great view of the track. It's an unreal feeling.
Yeah, they're a good experience, aren't they? Great stuff.
Sure.
Go on, Jess.
Yeah. I was just looking for.
Easy. Let me talk tonight. All right.
I did not say that.
Yeah. Listen, what we do, Jake, whilst you're there, mate, in terms of, I'm really interested about you want to be a Supercross mechanic.
Yeah. So pretty much, I got my first motorcycle when I was 6, and I think when I was 12, I went to my first actual Supercross race. We'd always seen it on TV, and my dad and I were just, let's go. And so I went there, and my favorite part wasn't necessarily watching the races from the stands. I mean, that's obviously really cool, but I really like seeing how meticulous all the mechanics were, walking through the pits and all the semis and everything. And my dad, he was friends with one of the guys at the Dunlop trucks. We got to walk through the whole truck, and that was really my spark for being really interested in working for race bikes and race teams. And pretty much ever since then, I've always looked into it. And it's always been in the back of my mind. And there's some technical schools in the States that they're not really geared towards race teams. And I always noticed them, but they were never the right path. And recently, a couple years ago, I found, I was going through a magazine article, and at the end of it was my favorite part of the magazine. They had a whole section on the mechanics and how they would break down the riders' bikes. And it talked about one of the mechanics in the school he went to, and it was designed for race teams. and I first saw that article, went straight to the website, looked it up, and I knew that this school was the one for me. And I was probably 15 at the time, and now I'm 18 next month. So I just knew.
I need 3 more years until you can drink.
Yeah, exactly. So,
not if you come to Europe, though.
Yeah. So saw that school, had my sights set on it, and went and visited this last November. Couldn't have gone better. And I've been building relationships. I'd talked to people at Kawasaki, talked to different race teams.
Bruce
Sternstrom, Dan Fahey, and those guys are super awesome people. I got to tour the actual factory Kawasaki shop, and it was just really awesome. And everything that I've done has really driven me towards this passion of mine. And I just always loved working with my hands and being the meticulous person I am. I diagnosed myself with OCD. I don't really have it, but I'm very meticulous when it comes to working on race bikes for sure. And the other day we were swapping a motor out of Wilbur's bike, and he did some things that I wouldn't have done. We'll put it that way. We call it the ghetto shit. Yeah, I said that. But yeah, so I've been trying to reinforce my work habits on him, but I just really like that really meticulous breakdown of everything, and I feel like it fits who I am and my personality and my attributes really well to be on the mechanic side of things, even though I would say I'm a decent racer.
Pushing it, man. Decent's pushing it.
Yeah.
Chad Reed called me yesterday.
No.
Well, he's
he never. No.
But yeah, Supercross, it's really pretty much the best place where you can make a living wage as a mechanic. And so that's the path I want to take. Live it while I'm young. And then after that, who knows what opportunities will open up. There's so many branches that could reach off from that.
There's
so
what's the price?
Let's say Wilbur makes it in Europe and he's doing really well. Will you throw the towel in on the Supercross and make the move to Speedway and come to Europe?
We've talked about it a little bit.
It's just hard because if you
Wilbur's got to prove himself first, eh?
Wilbur.
I don't have that much faith in him.
Wilbur.
Yeah.
I'll back you before you're famous, and then when Jake comes calling, just say,
Get out of his chances.
Yeah, no, we've definitely talked about it, and it's been in the back of my mind. It's really everything is so unplannable right now, and
for sure,
I can't plan for my life. If either of us, we can't plan for our lives. It all depends on the opportunities that open up, and if the time is right, I would absolutely consider living in Europe, being his full-time guy. It would just be something that I would really enjoy, and how many other people get to say that they were a mechanic for a top guy. So it's just something that I could definitely see happening.
So who's the top guy?
Oh, Greg. Sorry, I didn't make that clear.
Oh my! Oh. So I'll post something on Instagram, and then I'll say something that offended, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm your boss. You know that, right?"
I'm the one in charge of making sure your wheels are on tight. So it kind of simmers down after that. But
yeah,
we have our banter back and forth.
That's good. So I've spoken to your dad at Cardiff, and I have an interview that I did with him for a TV show that we was trying to pitch.
Yeah,
and I'm not allowed to show that interview. But talking to him about
show it, Jerry.
No, I'm actually signed a contract to say I'm not allowed to show it, so I can't show it. But
bit of paper,
we were talking about like your riding and and all the things that you're up to, training and all those sort of things. Like, how much of an influence does your dad have on what you're doing? Does he get involved with the mechanical side of it?
In the beginning, he was definitely involved in the mechanical side of it. It was hard 2 years ago when I was there, because you get into it's like a semi-professional kind of a deal when you're a junior in Europe there, because it's quite a high level, and you're obligated to show up and stuff like that. So you're supposed to be there So it was like, hey, can I go with you to the GPs? Oh wait, no, I have a race. It wasn't like I could just skip the race. And when my dad was racing, it would be like a scramble to call people because we hadn't thought about having a mechanic like that for me yet. Just because of, I don't know, it was hard because we wanted to have, dad's mechanics there, and we also wanted to have.
Sorry, Wilbur, is this the ADCCs?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because I'll lead into something. I just want to make sure we're on the same party. Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah. So it was just hard to transfer a random mechanic over there, and sometimes I had a mechanic for myself, and it was just a hard deal to do. But he was always there for me no matter what, and he would be a call away because I'd race in the morning and he'd race at the night. So I mean, it was times where I was like, hey, Dad, I need help here. And FaceTime you, stuff like that. And then he'll it was just stuff like that kind of helped.
Yeah. Cool. The ADCC thing, it's proving quite popular with a few Aussies. I know Brady Kurtz did it as a youngster.
Matt Gilmore, too. He wrote it, too.
Most recently, a kid called James Pearson. He came second last year in the world. Yeah. Yeah, I met James, a good kid, and just to find out around the logistics of it, it's very expensive for a young Aussie to come over to Scandinavia, and obviously they get billeted out, but it's a great proving ground. But just the sheer expense of the experience, but hopefully it's proven dividends. But when I spoke to James at length, because Craig Watson come over and helped him and his father, just when you have a look at I think, is it Ronnie Pedersen's boy races as well, and the sheer professionalism, which I guess wasn't around when, the guys that I know at their level were doing. So can you see that hopefully helping the sustainability of Speedway?
Yeah, in my opinion, the ADCCs aren't as similar as to the 500 as a 4-stroke 125 or a 4-stroke 150 or anything like that. It's a lot more similar to put you on a 150. So I mean, it's a lot more expensive too on the ADCCs. So I mean, I like the bike. It was so quick and so responsive. If you wanted to do something, it was just on right away. And the starts, especially because you were shifting like twice going into the turns and stuff like that, and you just hear dee and you just kick their bike all of a sudden. You're shifting down into the turns, and it was more of like you could use that to push the bike into the turns.
But surely obviously there's massive differences, and I know the 250 junior world titles are a big one as well on the gels and that type, but surely the younger we can, I know I'm talking to you as an older person, but surely the interest at that level might help keep riders in Speedway, or do you think that ADCC is the young guys that could go off to motocross, could go off the road?
I have a few. I have a few friends in Sweden and stuff like that just ride ADCCs till they're 16 and then they stop, and then they're like,
"Yeah,
what the heck, man?" And they're like, "250s aren't that cool," and I don't like the 500 because they get so used to the 2-strokes. It's a lot different, and it's a fun bike because it's like riding I have a 85 motocross bike right behind me. It's like riding one of those and then going to a 250 4-stroke. So different, and so it's just a different feeling for everything.
Yeah, sure. All right. Jerry.
Cool. Hello, Charles.
You got any photos or videos of Wilbur?
So we have got one video of Wilbur. We've got the interviews that he did with the interviews with Chris Holder and Magic. But what I've done is I've actually taken the questions that Wilbur asked, because I'm sure everyone's seen those videos of him asking the GP riders questions. Ooh. So I've actually taken those questions and we're going to ask Wilbur those questions. But I actually found this little gem earlier on YouTube. And
is it going to be like Pipsqueak or something?
What have you ever beaten any of the GP riders?
Have I beaten?
Yeah.
Answer the question.
I know what video you're talking about now. Oh yeah, Chris Holder in motocross.
You beat Chris Holder at motocross.
Oh yeah,
you did actually. Yes. Let's watch this now.
Have you seen this?
Here we go.
On the
motocross, Chris Holder, ladies and gentlemen. That's Chris Holder right there. Woo!
Chris Holder got third, dude. Bill beat him, and Bill doesn't even ride.
Yep, you're shocked. Second place, Bill Hancock.
Yeah.
Here he goes. Yeah. Woo.
Really?
All right, everybody.
Hey guys, the
take it easy out there.
Bill Hancock is right here.
There he is.
And rounding off our undisputed champion,
Oh yeah,
without a doubt, Wilbur Hancock.
Bill didn't like being beat by his older brother by the looks of things.
Oh,
he was like, "No, I'm having it."
Oh, look at that. That's golden right there.
You guys both
Yeah, jump up there.
One,
Oh, I knew it's going to be a battle now.
Bill did not want to.
He did not want to come down.
You have to go back a second, Bill. That's what it was today, buddy.
Don't go anywhere.
Great
second.
from his dad.
Yeah, that's a gem right
dad
there.
back 2 seconds. Can you get your dad back 2 seconds?
What do you say?
Can you get Greg back in just for 2 seconds?
Oh, that was Bill.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
It was Bill. Yeah.
that's my.
Oh, okay. I'm on an iPhone tonight, and everyone's this big.
Yeah, so Carl is the newest to the family. Not yet, but basically newest to the family. Youngest. King Carl, he's the legend right there. Like he's no matter what, he's gonna be the legend. All right. Bill, he's not into motocross or speedway and stuff like that. He plays soccer.
He's Bill.
Bill's Bill. All right. So here's Bill. Bill can explain to you what he does in this family.
Oh, g'day, Bill.
What's your part in the family then, Bill?
Well, I'm the more athletic person in the family.
Oh.
No, but I play soccer at a very competitive and aggressive level as of right now. Have some scouts coming next year.
Champion.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the champion.
Hey, Bill. Bill. David Beckham called me yesterday.
Oh, really? Great friends with me.
Nah. No, I didn't. No.
Great friends with me.
So
There we
Bill, there's lots of things to do in America apart from ride motorbikes, mate. So you might be one of those California kids in Hollywood, eh?
Probably. We'll see.
Good luck with that.
Way to be humble.
Yeah, way to be humble. So what do you get up to then? You play soccer, did you say?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Are
cool.
you any good?
You any good?
That's a good question.
Try to be.
He tries.
I'm just looking for. I'm starting a management agency where I'm the manager and just rake it in for other people being good. So if you're any good, you can come on my team and I'll manage you.
Are you good? Yeah. All right, you're signed.
Yes. Jerry had a thing like that when he was a magician, didn't you, Jez?
Yeah.
Are you good?
No, I was not good. That's why I'm not a magician anymore.
Top 50 in the world, right?
Yeah. So Bill, you got no interest in racing bikes, and after having such a massive influence in motorcycle in your family, you got no interest?
Like, it's fun. I have a hobby of doing it, but I don't really see that big of an interest in it. I would rather do soccer and run a little bit and not be on a bike.
All right.
Yeah,
right. Okay.
I like it. I think, and this is serious. Wilbur has, I guess, expectations, pressure. The expectation is huge because of the surname, and that can go either way. And that's no disrespect to Wilbur. We've seen a lot of sons of greats in a lot of sports, and trying to make your own identity, which you're doing really well, Wilbur, with your social media. I can't wait to see and hear. Welcome to the 2032 Football World Cup, and the winning goal was by Bill Hancock.
Yeah, right. Hey, the money is where Bill is going to be. I'm gonna be like, dude, if I don't make it, I'm calling Bill.
I'll be his
Yeah.
I'll pick those balls for him.
Yeah. Jake will be there and go, look, I told you it was pumped up to the right air pressure.
I got my
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Good stuff.
So,
Good stuff.
in literally a few seconds, I've got a special guest in the background.
Oh my God. You didn't. Oh, I know who
I
this
know.
is.
Who would have thought
Who
we'd
do you
get
think
Donald Trump on the show?
Hey, man, all right. Oh, no.
Who do you reckon's the guest, Wilbur?
Yeah, who do you reckon the guest is going to be, Wilbur?
Better not be my dad.
Your dad or Luke?
Why not you?
I'm grilling him. One of those two.
Wilbur, can I?
Would it be time?
Well, Wilbur, can I tell you? I don't even know who it is.
Uh-oh.
Go on, Jerry. Who is it?
No.
I can't bring him in at the moment because his connection's froze.
All right, cool.
Oh, thank God.
So we'll carry on talking, but Ty's been on the show a few times. It wasn't Ty. Dude, it's really bad connection.
There, doesn't he?
There you go.
Okay, so he's got really bad connection.
We got the legend coming here.
I'm already on.
Not the legend, you guys know.
Is he coming on as well? Is this Carl?
There he is.
Oh,
Hey,
Oh,
here he is.
how you going, Carl?
Good.
Good.
So,
Who's your favourite brother?
Oh, this is good.
Good.
Wait, who is your favorite?
Which one?
Probably one.
Who's your favourite?
Oh,
Probably Wilbur. Oh,
Probably,
right. Okay, we have got our special guest is back. Let's see if this works. Here we go. Let's see if he's got anything nice to say about you.
Oh my God.
Here he is.
Is he?
He sat just outside.
Hey!
That's where he went.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he has
It's a bit frosty.
with him, who is the Team Australia team manager. Is that correct? Oh, their signal's really bad.
Yeah, we got Lance with
Nope.
us,
Uh-oh.
guys. Sorry, we have a really bad connection.
You might as well sleep.
Go in the house.
He got his internet connection from Midlow.
Or me. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm running 4G tonight, aren't I?
No, can we not hear them?
We can see you, but we can't hear you very well.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go off and come back on, Jess.
yeah. So, well, is it better if you go in the house? Can you hear us?
I just walked around, man. It just doesn't seem like it changes anywhere. Even so, I switched over to 5G.
The
5G.
garage
Probably
seems to be
because Kyle's
fine.
just got that Ty Whiffenden hat on.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's what it is.
No,
Anything for free, Greg. Anything for free.
He can't hear us.
well,
Yeah, I can't
that's
hear
what I would assume.
you. Yeah. You got it. You got
Oh,
to
you
take
guys
off and go back on, Jess.
Let's see if we can change our position here.
Okay, cool.
Oh, yeah.
We'll bring you back in a second.
Taking me a away.
Right, we'll bring him back in a second.
I
Yeah,
talked
so
to King Carl.
here he is, King Carl. How's your new bike?
Obviously,
how's your new bike?
It's good.
Is it fast?
good.
Yeah.
I like
And
that.
are you going to be faster than your brother on Speedway
Probably.
one day?
Probably.
Probably. There we go. How good would that be to have two Hancock brothers in the Grand Prix one day?
That's going to be a...
Mm.
I'm going to have my hands full.
Yeah. and you have Jake looking after you both.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Do you want to race in the
No,
GP, Carl?
Yeah, if they're any good, remember?
Yeah, only if they're any good. Yeah.
Well, never mind. These two are on their own.
A quick one, Wilbur. I asked Jerry this, mate, but you speak fluent Swedish as well?
I do.
Give us a...
All of you? All three of you?
All three speaks fluent Swedish, yeah.
Oh,
Cool.
So a guy called Anders Henriksen was the first Swedish rider I met. He used to ride for Newport. He taught me a bit of Swedish, well, just a really small bit, but he never told me what it means. What's fina rumpa mean?
Nice ass.
Oh, right, okay. Good chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the correct translation.
I met this Swedish girl once, and she told me how to say, and I'm probably going to get this wrong. It's "Du ler vackert, duiga hen till mig." Is that right?
You are pretty. I think the first part is.
Yeah, he's got a Cornwall accent, so
yeah, it was supposed to be like, I think you're beautiful, and you should come home with me tonight.
Yes, that's
something along those lines. Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
I've never remembered any foreign languages, but that's one I did learn because I thought that's going to come in handy in Sweden one day.
Hey, I mean,
I tell you what, having Swedish as a second language, bloody hell, that's gold. Isn't it?
All right, we have Spotlight Steelers here. We have the.
Oh
here we go.
Are they coming in
now?
So we got Lance and Greg.
Hey!
Here he is.
Get down there a little
Can
more.
we get everybody in there?
I think so. If we want to actually, you know what we can do? We can do this.
No, Greg.
There you go.
Rearrange the studio.
There we go.
Oh,
How are you, Herbie?
What do you want me?
I'm good, brother. How are you? The Lance Louise in here?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. I tell you what, I found some. Obviously, we've got Lee Adams on the show this Friday morning, UK time. So I went back and I found a lot of Series 500 videos on YouTube.
We're not supposed to talk about that on the show.
Yeah, I know, but once it turns out on YouTube, once you search something, it keeps recommending other things linked to that.
Oh my God.
Do you remember racing at Bunbury in WA? The track was that big they only could run over 3 laps.
Yeah, I remember, dude. That place was one of my favorite places, though, because I mean, it was hotter than you know what out there to begin with. But it was it was banked too. That I remember that track was, and just
I watched it today. Just thought, man, there was hardly any sliding. Like Crumpy won his first one in the long track position.
Oh,
it was.
Did you ever ride?
Yeah, it was good.
In Western Australia?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
How are you, Lance? Well, welcome to the world famous Speedway Chat Show, the biggest chat show in the world, called the Speedway Chat Show.
Very, very good. I haven't seen it. So
you what?
I know. Can you believe it? I'm out of the loop.
He lives in Arizona.
You are out of the loop.
He lives in Arizona. That's so far away.
Yeah,
because we're on the Facebook.
Right.
On the Facebook. We're actually on YouTube as well now, so you can now watch us live on YouTube.
Yeah. Greg, we've been talking to Wilbur about his sort of perspective growing up with an icon in Speedway as yourself, and trying to get his perspective, how it's helped him, what he feels like, and then obviously the big thing, mate, is the identity change, becoming Wilbur Hancock, not the son of Greg. What's your stance on it? We've seen fathers heavily being involved with their kids, and some have gone tremendously at all levels and some haven't. So obviously over the next couple of years, Will was talking about coming over to Europe and having a go. And have you sort of roadmapped that out in terms of allowing him to be Wilbur but you obviously having input?
Well, I mean, we've tried not to roadmap anything. It's been more of a case of I kind of all along we've really tried to just guide him in the best way we can and let him. You can see from the day one, he's always been kind of like he wants to do it his way, and that's awesome. That's what we want, because we want his whole life to be that way. It's not, we can only kind of point him in the right direction that we feel is the correct direction to go in. And then once he reaches a certain point, it's up to him whether he turns right or decides to turn left like I did, and take it from there. But he's been you guys see, like you talk about it in some of his media stuff that he's done. He's always been a young adult, and I remember talking and reminding him that you're only 9 or you're only 11. You don't need to act like you're 15 or 18 or 21 or 35. So be a kid, but this is him, in a nutshell. And I don't want him to live as the son of Greg in that way. If it gives any sort of boost or whatever, it's awesome. But now he's got like Jake here, who's pretty much helping him to run his show and making his bikes work for him. And these guys got their own. They got their own little game plan already. So
well, only if he does well, he's told us.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. If he doesn't do well, Jake's gone to Supercross and you're never going to see him again.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he'll be good. Yeah, it could be a short-lived deal, but hey, what the heck?
Hey,
Yeah.
Can you imagine, Jake? He's talking about Supercross and the semi-trailer pits and the motorhomes, and then he turns up to a Speedway meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. In England, in the rain.
The rain.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've just travelled all the way from Europe for a rain off and have to go all the way back.
Well, it's pretty cool because Jake's going to that Mechanics Institute that he's doing, and Lance's wife, she works for MMI, which is the Motorcycle Mechanics Institute as well. So that's all linked up with all this thing. So it's pretty cool because it's I mean that whole institute is pretty righteous what they're doing, and you've got to be really devoted to what you're doing to go for it. And this guy is, by all means, is super devoted.
I tell you what, the one thing that stands out for me with AMA Supercross is it got relaunched maybe 2 weeks ago. They had a meeting, didn't they? But on every platform of social media from every corner of the globe, people sat back and watched the AMA. It's big money and it's big business in the States.
Absolutely.
Yeah, pretty much, man. Jake can probably answer that.
Yeah, it's that's kind of the Speedway has always been my passion. That's what I've done. But really, if I don't want to be, I want to live comfortably. And so becoming a Supercross mechanic because of the big money, the big sponsors, it's really that perfect line.
Action you're following.
It's that perfect line where there's enough money where I can live comfortably, but I still get to do what I love. And that's why it's something that I'm going to do when I'm young. And then when I want to settle down, there's like I said before, there's so many different paths that could open up, and I can just see what opportunities arise.
Well, what I like about you're talking as if you've already got the job at a team.
Absolutely. In my head, I'm already retired. So
already made the money. Greg, we had Bruce Penhall on the show. Mate, the response, and geez, that was an emotional roller coaster. I don't know if you've seen any of it, but it was an amazing insight to another American icon, and I think a big conversation that come out of it. And when you watch it back, I think you'll see me just go, he was talking about the money that he could make at Costa Mesa back in the day. He was talking $5,000-$6,000 US, and it was. And
he said he was like 16 years old or something, making that sort of money.
And now Wilbur's talking about America getting back to the glory days. Is it achievable?
Obviously.
And if it is, how does it? And if it is achievable, how did the UK do it?
So, of course, everything's achievable, but it's looking at this like Lance is kind of. I can't even say he's in between me and Bruce, but you are in between us. But he was closer to Bruce's era in the beginning. However, I got rode into his era, and so I saw the tail end of those really good times, and they weren't really that great even when I came in. So if you take the 70s and the 80s there, like that was pretty. Lance can probably elaborate on this too. We would really love to see America come back and be one of those, and we all believe in it in this crazy little world. The U.S. has got so much going on, man. It's a lot of competition to make Speedway great again.
Yeah, everyone's fighting for money. Lance, if I can bring you in, obviously you're at the forefront of Team USA. What's the vision? Like, realistically achievable. It's having a production line of riders, which is paramount in Poland and Scandinavia. Realistically, what's the the next 5 years look like for Team USA?
Yeah, see, that's a tough question because if the sport does not continue to get bigger here in the States, then it's hard to obviously develop riders. Going back to Bruce and my days when we were racing 4 and 5 nights a week, I think I was averaging, between $3,000 and $5,000 a week when I was 16 years old. So, yeah, crazy, right? But what that does is that but what that does is that produces riders, right? That makes it a professional sport. That brings out the best of the best because people are coming into the sport trying to make that money, right? But when it becomes a pro-am, an amateur sport here, where you're basically lucky to pay for your expenses every other week, maybe, what's there, a handful of races a year now, that makes bringing new kids into the sport pretty tough unless they love Speedway. And it's hard for them to even get acclimated to the sport because there's really not that many races. And it's just like anywhere. If you can't make a living and a decent living, then it's hard to get riders advancing in the sport, just like Supercross. If there was no money in motocross, yes, it's fun to ride, but the talent level would go so far down because they're always looking at that being that next Greg Hancock or, Eli Tomac making that big money, right? Back in the day. So that's the tough part is getting people into the sport, getting junior speedway going, and getting promoters that want to promote the races. But you also have to have a good show if you're going to produce the races, right? If you're going to promote it. So it's
sadly that's been a conversation forever, hasn't it? Having someone that wants to promote it, speculate to accumulate, put something in to attract the people. There's always someone else trying to get your Friday night, Saturday night speedway money into their pocket. And even the looks now where you got Supercross and Motocross, freestyle had its glory days with Travis Pastrana, and as soon as that sort of era went out, it died off. Supercross has come back. There's always someone fighting for your money, isn't there, to get you in the turnstiles or whatever you're promoting.
Yeah, I think it's going to take, we've talked about this for a while now. I think it's going to take possibly getting some big races together with some European stars, bringing them over with the riders that we have here in the States, getting a track that's somewhat neutral, not a small track like Costa Mesa, or maybe something in between, or putting them a couple races together, one at Costa Mesa and a small track, and something bigger. Maybe something in Vegas would be cool, right? Get and advertise it to get some young kids and some interest here in the States. I think we need that to bring some people out of the woodwork.
That sounds familiar, doesn't it, Greg? Back in the mid to late 90s in Australia.
Exactly the same, right? And we kind of had a little bit of this discussion last time too. And like everything you said there, this is a lot of stuff's been going on behind the scenes. And I've been talking to Joe, over the last few months too, and had a few ideas and the combination of the conversations that Lance and I have been having. And I'm doing a group bicycle ride every weekend right now too with one or two guys. This has been a regular thing that's been really cropped up. And everything Lance just said there about getting some international involvement, bringing some guys over here, creating a new series. This is a really cool concept. The current situation has kind of kicked everybody down a level or two because of COVID, but we hope that we can get through that and get back to a new normal and then get the whole train started again so that this thing can actually become a reality.
To elaborate on that a little bit, going back to like 2012, 2013, when we had the Monster Energy Invitational at Industry Speedway, that was like, I think, a big turning point.
Darcy and stuff was there, wasn't it?
What did you say?
It was Darcy and Chris came over for that one, wasn't it?
Yeah, Darcy was over, Scott Nichols, Hans Anderson, you had Dudek, Janowski, you had so many big big names there.
Yeah, Lindbeck.
Yeah, Lindbeck, Lindgren. There was so many opportunities for Americans to, go out there, and it was cool because they ran it on a small track, so it was the level of professionalism by Janowski and Anderson and all the other guys that came over, and then you had the Americans who were used to the smaller tracks.
It gave us a chance.
It gave an advantage, and it was kind of equal then. And to see some of the good British riders who were used to the rougher, smaller tracks go out there and just throw it around with them, and that was awesome to watch. And then being able as a junior to go out there and ride as well in front of everybody. I mean, there was 6,000 people in there almost, watching. It was,
which is massive.
Massive, yeah, exactly. You can.
There's some good onboard shots on YouTube. I think it's maybe Billy Gennaro had an onboard camera. Oh wow, they turning the things inside out. It just looks like a good show.
Yeah, I done a video with Billy, and we put a 360 camera on the front of his helmet, and it was at Costa Mesa, and that looks pretty cool because as he comes around the corner, I turn the camera around and it looks right in his eyes, and it's only like a few inches away. It's pretty cool. But I was about to say, I went to Costa Mesa 2 years ago, I think it was, for the Orange County Fair. They do a Speedway meeting there, and one thing me and Charles have been talking about for a long time is in the UK, people turn up and they watch the Speedway, and the Speedway fans love it because they're there for the racing. But anyone that's never been to Speedway before, there isn't a show. They're like, what are these guys doing? Why are they doing that? And, when I was at Costa Mesa, it was a whole show. In between every single race, the guy was explaining, talking to riders. And it was a full production. And I think that's what we're lacking here in the UK is that, but Costa Mesa, I think they said had 5,000 or 6,000 people in there that night. There wasn't a single seat anywhere. There was people standing, but then there's only 4 or 5 of those meetings a year. And obviously there's not enough for that.
On that exact thing. My dad and I, we've had the same conversation that exact night, the Fair Derby. It's such a huge night for American Speedway because, just like you said, there's so many people that have never been to a Speedway race that come to this event and that bring their kids too. And kind of going back to what you were saying before about what they were saying, you need to bring kids into the sport. And my dad and I actually came up with this. It was, you need to make the show geared towards the kids and then also for the parents as well. But that should be a night where you have kids like Carl and kids like, Bill, or that age group really needs to be promoted the best. You need to give away 6-foot tall trophies so that the kids see this event and think, I want to do that. Because what kid sees a 6-foot tall trophy and says, oh, no, thanks, I'm good. So it's the exact thing, promoting this event, not only for the adults, but also for the kids that are the future of the sport. There's a lot of
anyone that
can do that. Yeah.
Anyone that's just tuned in, we've got Jake, the new US Speedway promoter, on board.
He's already, see, that's where he's already graduated from his mechanic school, retired from mechanic, now he's a promoter.
Yeah.
Wow. We've seen Jake. We met him earlier. We've seen his career blossom.
Yeah. So,
fantastic.
We've gone over the hour. I think we should.
Good.
It's been great. Just the final thoughts of the show was originally all about Wilbur. So let's go to Greg. I see through Wilbur's social media that he's on it. Like, he's on his social media. He's training. He's doing all the right things and stuff like that. What am I trying to say? It's like, where do you see him going? Is he going to go to Sweden? Will he come to England? Or like, where would you see his first step into being a professional Speedway rider is?
Well, this is, Lance and I were talking about this earlier too, and then my buddy Donnie Odom too. Like, we've all got these ideas and thoughts about what's going to happen in the future here, but it's right now it's so up in the air. We don't know what the future holds, right? I mean,
yeah, of course.
The Polish, like seriously, we had a kind of an idea or a roadmap, as you called it, as to what we thought he was going to do and what we were going to do. But everything's is pretty much kind of just on hold right now because Polish League starts this weekend. It's looking kind of doubtful, really, right, for the British League and the Swedish League. It's not, I don't know, unless you guys know something we don't know yet. It's very up in the air as to whether they will start, and clubs are already saying we're not doing it, like Glasgow. And then the GP hasn't really given us a full schedule yet either, right? There's still a lot of talk, and it looks positive. It looks like there could be a GP soon, sooner than later, which we really hope for. That's like
they just announced that they're going to run the European Championships in Europe there.
In July, in
Poland, in July.
Right. So the outlook is good. So if we go back to your question there, that Wilbur really wants to be in Europe. This is a great training ground. I still think U.S. Speedway is probably one of the best training grounds around because of the small tracks. You learn how to turn hard, technique, quick, lots of races. And probably our biggest, strongest point in racing here is we know how to put on the brakes that you don't actually have on a speedway bike. And what I mean by that is you learn how to turn the bike. You back it in. You can almost stop the bike on a dime and leave yourself 5 cents change. So it's one of those things that. But Wilbur can do a lot of that stuff. He's still got a lot to master, a lot to learn. And Europe is the place to be. So as soon as the doors open and we can make it work, school at home now has been a great opportunity for him to be able to train in different ways and go riding at different times. And you got to get him to Europe. And whether it's, Sweden's an easy place to go for us because we have a base there. We have family there. So he has plenty of people to look after him.
And I'm only in the UK. When you need me.
Awesome.
You and Jerry, you both got extra rooms for him to crash with all his gang. And,
my daughter would like that.
Yeah. And you're still throwing out the offer.
Oh my.
Oh dear.
No, we want to get him over there.
Yeah. Look. Do you know what, Greg? Do you know what's really, I guess what's disappointing and I probably share the thoughts of a lot of people. Jerry and I are really humbled by the amount of separate messages we get in between shows from viewers. Just why it's really hard even talking about Speedway in the situation we're talking about it in.
Yeah.
In terms of we're not seeing it, we're not hearing it, we're not smelling it. Our routine or, Speedway fans' routines have been turned upside down. Riders' routines have been turned upside down, and I just hope for the life of me, and especially with the knock-on effect that we've been introduced to with mental health this year amongst the Speedway community, that we, in the weeks and months to follow, we're having a massive laugh and hooray, and all this has just been a whirlwind. Now, I guess you share those thoughts because Speedway has been forever in your life, hasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I kind of look at it in one way that when my wife Jenny got diagnosed with her breast cancer last year and everything came to a halt and, trying to explain to these guys that life's going to be okay, but we've got about a year, we're in about a year from now, we're going to look at this and go like, that was a crazy ride that we don't ever want to go through again. So that all passed by, we passed that milestone and here we are with Speedway in a state that nobody really knows. And in a year's time, I really hope that we're going to look back on this again and go like, wow, what a crazy ride. Let's hope we never have to go through that again. And
then we ended up with this.
So
imagine if COVID didn't start, the world wouldn't be introduced to Jerry and Charlesy, and I don't think anyone would ever get through it.
How would they cope?
Dude, that would just be mega. Whoa.
Look, it's
Greg,
it is bad.
Greg, you missed the beginning of the show where we explained what we're up to. So Friday's our last Friday show. At the moment, we do Tuesdays and Fridays, but as of Sunday, we're looking into doing a match of the day style Speedway show of Poland. So we're going to review races from Friday and Sunday, and then sort of explain what's going on because there is no English speaking sort of broadcast. Show on what's on broadcast and what's happening in Poland. What do you think to that as an idea? Is it good, bad, or?
Well, you guys are stealing my show, man. I was thinking of doing the same thing.
Yeah. Well, you can co-host with us.
Yeah, you can come on.
I'll see you guys later. I think that is actually a brilliant idea because, for English-speaking countries like ourselves, we can't really get any live commentary about the matches, or even when it comes to highlights and stuff like that. So that's going to be a win-win all around, you guys. Good move.
I guess the goal is you can't watch every single football match, and Premiership football is big in the UK, but you will always make time for match of the day and catch the best bits and the talking points. We spoke to a lot of riders, and a lot of them are keen to come on, or be it pre-recorded, maybe live, and say, look, I didn't have a good meeting, but geez, the team pulled through, and that sort of stuff, and try to give what we can see through our messages is a dying need for some sort of speedway in our viewers' houses, because we are missing the sport. So we're going to give it a go. There's going to be teething issues, but I guess the concept is to sort of bring some sort of racing and back into the houses. So I'm sure you'll be a big fan of the show, Greg. You're a big fan of mine. So.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'm fans of you guys, so it goes without saying. So, no, I think
Lance King follows us on the Facebook.
Yeah, he does. He's there. He's already he's the biggest fan already.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Wilbur and Jake. Look, I think both of you, regardless as very young, intelligent men, I really appreciate you, Jake, for saying that the mechanic side of it is something you really want to chase, because races without mechanics can't race, mate. So well done for that. And Wilbur, I don't think I've met anyone that doesn't speak highly of you, mate. Just the way you condone yourself. You're a perfect example to the Hancock family. I hope you do extremely well as Wilbur Hancock in the years to come. Really appreciate both your time coming on the show and giving us an insight to what it was like growing up under the shadow of the man himself.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Cool. If you just want to stay there, just have a quick chat after it, if you don't mind, boys, while we wrap this up. Is that okay? Just a couple of minutes?
Yeah.
Just on the side? Yeah, perfect.
And Wilbur did say at the beginning of the show that he wanted to outdo his dad's show and get more viewed minutes. So if everybody wants to share this
good
video
luck with that, Wilbur.
as much as you can.
I'm not surprised.
You have a few thousand viewed minutes to watch to beat that, but then Greg will just have to come back again and do another show.
Yeah, maybe. Good stuff.
Maybe you guys better get a follow-up show with me and Lance later, or Lance on his own, and hear the real story about American Speedway.
We like that.
I like it. Well, I think we're gonna look. I'm really looking forward to Friday with Lee Adams. I know it's Friday morning UK. It's going to be too early for you guys to watch, but I'm pretty sure the content of that video will be interesting around Australia and Lee's career. Arguably one of the greatest alongside you, Greg, to rack his right leg over a motorcycle. So looking forward to that one on Friday.
That will be an awesome show, you guys. There hasn't been much info about Lee, that should be broadcast like this for a long time. So I look forward to watching that myself.
Yeah, listen, I when I say this, him and Kylie are super excited to re-engage with, the British public and the other people that watch the show. I think, sometimes you might feel lost and Lee's injury and think he's forgotten. But since we announced he's coming on the show, the excitement's been really good. But Lee himself and Kylie are really super excited to touch base back with everyone. So I'm looking forward to Friday as well. We'll wrap it up there, guys. Stay back there for 2 seconds and we'll catch up in a minute.
Take care, guys. Have a great show.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers.
So that's it. I did say at the beginning of the show as well, Joe Parsons is doing a live show with Blue Sea. So go to Facebook, search Blue Sea. So it's blue, just with the letter C. And he's on there. It's going to be a good chat. And that's also going to be in Costa Mesa where these boys are. But Charles, it's been another great show. Really great insight hearing what Wilbur has to say, you know, and the level that he's riding
14,
at, performing at. I think he's 15 now. Should we ask him?
I'll call him 14.
Wilbur, how old are you?
15.
15,
oh,
so he's 15.
Ella, he's 15.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you in a second, boys. So he's now 15. For a 15-year-old to be thinking the way he is and preparing his stuff, like it's super impressive.
Look, having Greg as his dad has its pros and cons, like we talked about, but certainly being exposed to that, hope young kids can look up and see that as well. You don't have to have a world champion as a dad to hold yourself in high regard and represent yourself as an individual. A couple of other things as well. It's been another tough week for mental health in Speedway. I won't mention his name, but he is watching. Thanks for the call, buddy. Stay strong. You're a good lad, and you've got a friend in me as well, mate. So appreciate your support as well. We've done a Speedway Star interview, Jerry.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, so on was it on Saturdays? We did a Speedway Star interview. So we had a little interview and we sent some photos
Speedway
in.
Star on Thursday, Jerry. I'm going to sign a copy. I'm going to sign a copy and post it to myself. I'm super excited about that. Hope it turns out all right, eh?
So if anyone sees the Speedway Star on Thursday, takes a photo of it, upload it to Facebook, I'd have to go and buy a copy. They can watch
the show for free. Yeah, they can watch the show for free.
they can watch the show for free. Brilliant.
Listen, let's wrap it up. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed an insight to a little bit of America, a little bit of Greg again, and special thanks to Lance and Jake for coming on as well. Love those people around you. Stay strong, stay safe. We're getting through this, and Speedway's coming back. We'll see you Friday morning UK time for Lightning Lee Adams from Mildura in Victoria. Until then, good night.
Adios. See ya. Bye.